We are recording now. You're also, just as
Oh,
an FYI, you're famous or infamous, depending on how you look at it,
yeah, infamous.
because we're also streaming live.
Oh, are we?
We're streaming
I got to
live
learn
on
about
Facebook. So
streaming.
if any of the kids wanted to watch it or whatnot, they can.
Yeah, I got to figure out streaming too.
Yeah. So kind of cool.
Okay, what are we
Yeah.
doing now? What are we talking about tonight?
I think this week we were going to talk about. Good, you're on. We were going to talk about high school, maybe meeting mom, and stuff
Oh,
like
okay.
that.
Yeah, that's a kind of an interesting story because mom, they moved down to New Haven when mom was in 8th grade, I think. And then she went to Troop Junior High School in New Haven
What was that
for
name
her
again?
Troop Junior
Troop?
High School.
Okay.
Troop. And it was if she'd stayed there, she would have been a Hill House High School.
Oh, okay.
But at that time, it was interesting at that time that because Orange didn't have a high school, uh, um, kids in Orange went wherever they could go. Some kids came to Milford. Some kids went to New Haven. Some kids, I think, went to whatever's north of there. I forget now. But so mom in her 9th grade class, she had kids from Orange. And she talked about when she was a 9th grader, the guy that took her to a dance, Jerry Cozzolino, I remember because his father was a doctor. And I think that's the one grandma would have liked mom to hook up with. He was the doctor's son. But anyway, but then they bought the house in Milford. And I think I don't know if that was her sophomore year, I think, but I didn't meet her. I didn't know
Oh,
who
I
she
always
was.
thought you met during sophomore year.
No, junior year.
Hmm.
Junior year. And it was, and there was another fellow that dated her, but yeah, because she must have been during our sophomore year because she dated a couple of fellows there. But our junior year, and it was what was strange is that it was, and the class was all set, and she came in late. We'd already started the class, and I think she came in a day late or something. So there was only one chair left in the room, and that was next to me.
Ah.
So she ended up having me sit next to me. And then, I don't know why, but right off, we hit it off and started dating right away. So it was strange. I don't know what happened if why she ended up in that class late. Why?
And what class was it again?
It was a history class.
History class. Okay.
With Miss Duda, Mary Lou Duda.
How come I know that name, Miss Duda?
I don't know. Well, I had a girl on my track team, Jeannie Duda, and maybe
I'm not so
when
sure she wasn't still teaching when we went to school.
she might have been.
Yeah, because that name
She
sounds
might have
very
been. She might have been an administrator at Milford.
Yeah, I know that name for sure.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it was funny because Woody one day was cleaning carpets, and she lived in Stratford. He cleaned her carpet, so she recognized the name right away. So, anyway, that's how mom and I met, and then we dated all that year, and then the next year we got married. Yeah.
Now, so mom moves in, but you guys were class officers.
Well, then our junior year, when they had elections for class officers, I ran for president. My best friend ran for vice president. Mom ran for secretary. And who ran for treasurer? I can't remember now. I have to go back and look. Yeah. But anyway, we all got elected. It was a landslide. I think mom had to go do a runoff. I'm not sure. But anyway, we all ended up clashing. It's in our yearbook.
I think I have it on. Hang on a second here. I think I have it on. Yes, I have it on for anybody watching on Facebook or for you, Dad. It's always in. It's on Family Search on your memory, and so the treasurer was Mark Marak, M-A-R-Y-A-K.
No, John.
John, excuse me, John Mark.
John Mariak. Yeah, Mariak. He was valedictorian.
Yeah, he was the treasurer. Barrett Atwood was vice president, you're president, and mom was secretary.
Yeah, and Barrett and I still keep in contact. He lives in Florida now. He came up for a visit a couple of times. But yeah, that's us. That's the group.
Yep, and that picture's on Family Search and under memory for you, under your memories now.
I got to get onto that research. I know something's always coming up. I got to speak next week at church too.
Oh, wow.
And we don't even, and that's going to be the first time we actually have live church.
Are they streaming it anyways too? Are they doing both?
Yeah,
Like, send us
they've
the
been,
link. Send us
yeah,
the
they've
link
been-
and we'll watch.
Okay, I'll send you. You can see it if
Yeah.
you want.
Yeah,
It'll be 7:00 in the morning.
that's okay. That'd be fun.
That's okay with you. Yeah, yeah. I don't know.
I might not get out of bed, but it'll still be fun.
I'm not too keen on speaking in church nowadays, but that's okay. No, the trouble is, we have so many people in and out of our ward.
Right.
It's like I don't know anybody anyway.
So let's back up a little bit. So you kind of took 18 months and quite a few activities and consolidated it to about one center. And we dated and we got married.
Yeah, that's right. Senior year in high school, big scandal. Well, it was funny is that the year before us, a couple got married too. Year after us, a couple got married too. And that actually what we did is we set a precedent. Because we got married and it was a whole big hoopla about it, and big news in the paper and everything. And then the question came up at the Board of Ed, can married students go to school?
Right.
And yep, they could. Of course, we had our friend Max Simpson's husband who was the chairman of the Board of Ed at the time too. So we didn't, in other words, we announced it and Mom announced it. I didn't want to tell anybody anything, but Mom announced it just before Christmas break. And so when we came back after Christmas break, we just started going to school. Nobody said anything. In fact, the administration was very good. Mr. French, Herb French, and Mr. Herman was there. And they were all very good to us. Mr. Wilkins, they were all very nice to us. Nobody made a big fuss about it. It was just normal. Worked out good.
So you got married in December?
December.
Okay. All right. And then you graduate.
We
So tell us a
graduated.
little bit about, let's back up a little bit. Tell us a little bit about your athletic prowess.
Oh, yeah. I like to get, oops, oh, my battery's going low. Oh, I got to go plug in because my battery's going low.
Okay.
Sorry, I should have charged. I was charging it up. Let me see.
Nothing like live TV.
Yeah. I gotta plug it in.
There you go.
Okay, well, then what I'm gonna do though, yeah, let me do this. Turn off the TV is on.
Like your sweater.
Oh, there we are. Yeah, I think it was yours maybe at one time. I don't know.
It's good
Well,
looking.
anyway, like I say, I like to have Jan Fugel talk about my football career because he had me doing everything. But just now, my freshman year, my brother Lester, who was a sophomore then, we both went down and tried out for football. And we both made the team. They had us as tackles. As far as I was concerned, wait a minute, I was the second fastest kid out there as a freshman. And I didn't think I was going to be a tackle. My brother was, he was big.
Yeah, Lester was big.
He could have made a tackle, but he didn't want to play tackle either. And so we didn't go out, which is a shame. We probably should have stuck with it. But then,
So that was your freshman year?
yeah, but then.
And Lester was a sophomore. Okay. Yeah.
Lester was a sophomore. And then what happened then is he was, by the time he turned 16 before his junior year, and then he got a car and he was working and everything. So we didn't, because I think he could have been a great javelin thrower.
Yeah.
But
Lester was tall and lanky,
yeah,
bigger.
but he had an arm like you wouldn't believe,
Yeah.
And Chris still talks about him going to the field over by US Motors and
Uh-huh.
seeing my brother hit the ball over the fence. I couldn't even hardly see the fence.
Yeah.
But anyway, then I've used this to talking to eighth graders a couple of times because I was a nobody. My
Yeah.
brother was in school, but he was very low key. He never did anything. I mean, outside of going to class and behaving himself, he was smart enough to know if he went to class and didn't cause trouble, he would pass. And I don't think him and Willie both had trouble reading. I think they most might have been a little dyslexic
Uh-huh.
because he had trouble reading. But they're both very smart.
Right.
But anyway, so then the two things happened my freshman year. So that I became a big guy on campus, if you want to call it that. Anyway, we had used to have a assembly every Friday, and we had the freshman class had an assembly, so kind of like a talent show for the freshman class.
Right.
And it was a kind of a silly kind of thing, but anyway, the whole premise was that there was a king and a queen, and the queen never laughed, and so the idea was all the people come out and do a thing and try to get the queen to smile. Well, the good thing was I was doing the pantomime thing at that time.
Now, let's just back up there. How did you get into the pantomime thing? Because that's kind of a historic part of your life. I mean, that is you. As far as that's we remember. We saw pictures. I hope you tell us some more stories. I think you went to Chicago one time. I think was it?
Detroit.
Detroit. Okay. So how did pantomime? I mean, it's not something you just pick up.
Here's what I like to tell the kids. When I was in fourth grade, you ask Allie about my singing, she'll tell you. Right. I can't carry a tune. And anyway, I was in fourth grade, and the singing teacher came in twice a week, and I was taken away. And she said to me, "Your voice must be changing." I was getting a C, and she said, "Your voice must be changing. Why don't you just hum?" I said, "Okay, I don't care, I'll hum." Next semester, next class, she comes in and said, "Nah, your humming's a little off. Why don't you just mouth the words?" I said, "Okay." So I got an A. When I was just humming, I got a B. Now I got an A. So that was how I kind of didn't really start in it, but that makes a good story because that is true. In fourth grade, they asked me not to sing. So anyway, then at that age, 6th, 7th grade, you start to get into music and stuff. And so I started to do lip sync to it, as they call it now. And then I do any record that came out, I try and lip sync it. But then my freshman year, there was a comedy number that came out called what was it called? I forget now, but anyway, and I lip synced it to do it, and so I lip synced it at our talent assembly, and of course because I was a comedy routine, they put it at the end, so I was the climax that got the queen to smile. Wow. I felt bad for a lot of the kids that were in there, like one girl, nice girl too, and she did a recitation. And the kids are throwing pennies at her, and I'm thinking, oh boy, I'm going to go out there and see what happens. But I was a hit. I was a hit, and all of a sudden you're walking down the hallway and people know who you are. Oh, great job. And okay, thank you. So that was a good thing, and then after that, I was still kind of a jerk, but I was doing good. I had good friends like Barrett. Barrett was one of the top students in school. And the thing that is interesting is when I went to Fort Trumbull, we went to 6th grade. And then 7th and 8th grade, we went to Central Grammar. So when I got to Central Grammar, none of my friends from Fort Trumbull were in my class because it went alphabetically. So Atwood was in one class, and Joy was in another class, and so I made all new friends when I was in 7th grade. And the same thing happened in high school. I went in, I was nobody in my class. My homeroom class was in classes I'd known before. So I had to make a whole new group of friends every time. So I was fortunate in the fact that I made some good friends. And then in the spring, they said, track tryouts. I said, well, I'll go give that a try. I don't know what I'll do. In 8th grade, I did the long jump. Remember they had the
Yeah, you were saying
citywide.
last week, the 2 weeks ago, you did the long jump in the city, and then I think you said you jumped in high school. You jumped into the 800 just as because there were so many good long jumpers, and you
Yeah,
beat
yeah,
those
that was
older kids.
yeah, that's the story. That's what I got. And I could run as well as anybody else on the team for 800. So I ran. I went. I won whenever we did a time trial. I'd win. So when the first meet came, I ran and I got third. And the kid that won went to Michigan to run track. So he was pretty good. He ran the mile, the half mile, and the 400 all in the same day, and won them all easy. But anyway, I did that. But then the second meet, the coach decided the kid that was a senior would run the 800 too, and he was better than me. But I'd usually get third or second. And in those days, they to get a letter, you had to score so many points.
Right. That was same with us, I think.
Was it? Because now it's
They used to keep track of our points and try to tally them up.
well, what they do now is you got a place in half the meets.
Yeah.
So if you got a third in half the meets, you're good. So I was doing all right on that kind of a score, but I didn't have enough points because I was getting thirds most of the time. Right. So I was getting 1 point, 3 points, 1 point. Then Jack Ferguson, who I knew since I was 7 or 8 years old, although he was 3 years older than me, but going down to one of the meets at the end of the year, and I'm in second place behind him, and all of a sudden he's almost stopped. He's waving at me to go by him. So he let me go by, so I get 5 points.
Huh.
And the next meet he didn't run. It was an easy meet against Stratford, and I won that one. So I got 10 points in those 2 meets. So I got enough points to get my letter. And I was the only freshman. No, Harold Slope, who played golf, got his letter too. So we were the only 2 freshmen at that time to get letters, and it was a big deal.
Yeah.
And at the end of the year, we had a picnic, a Letterman's picnic, and the coaches would come, and we all went down to Devon Park. Actually, where law is now is where the Little League baseball park used to be. And so we had it there, and we actually played softball. We went down, we had a cookout. We played in the Resi, and had a good time. So I'm hanging around again with all these seniors and juniors that were athletes. So good. So in my sophomore year, I went out for football again, and I made the team, but I didn't do much. Played a lot of JV, but that year.
So your junior year in track, you placed in state pretty decent, right?
Well, here's the thing is, in those days, in track, they had I think they did it when you were in school too. They had what they call them, not regional, but
regionals, I think.
Area meets. Yeah, and you had to place in that to go to the state meet.
Right.
Where now everything is placed on time. If you don't make a time, and no matter how many people get that time, they all go to the state meet. But at that time, so we went up to Waterbury. It was, you forget how things change. It was we went in cars. 4 teachers took the afternoon off from school and drove us up to Waterbury for the meet, and I placed 4th in the 800. So I went to the state meet as a freshman.
Oh, you went there as a freshman, huh?
As a freshman, I went to the state meet, and I ran the 800, and I died. I mean, I after the race, I couldn't hardly walk. I was laying on the ground. Kid ran like a 156, I think, and and it was interesting at that time too. We ran at Yale. It was a cinder track,
Yeah.
And on the back stretch, they had a runway on the back stretch. So what happened is you didn't start where the finish line was. You started out there, and when you got to the finish line, that was your first lap. So you had
I'll say a
um,
long straightaway, huh?
you had almost a 200-meter straightaway before you hit the curve, and then you got around, and then the second one. And I remember I was running good, but boy, those guys were fast. I was probably running like a 2:10 or something if I was lucky,
Right.
and I just died. But anyway, I got through that. And then my sophomore year, I went out for football again, made the team, and I was an end. I wasn't a tackle anymore. I was in. Well, the thing you got to remember, you guys were the same. You go into high school, I'm 5'10", 155 pounds, and they think, oh, well, by the time he's a senior, he's going to be 6 foot and weigh
Right.
180. No, I didn't get grow another inch after
Exactly.
that. I never put on any weight. In fact, I graduated, I only weighed 140 pounds. But but they, the coaches look and think you're going to grow.
Yeah.
Everybody else does, but we don't. So anyway, it was good. It was, and I got to play all the JV games. I didn't get into any varsity games, but I got the JV. And then in my, I shouldn't have done this, but I did this and we played, and I played rec basketball, in the winter, and that was good because it kept me in shape.
Kept in shape, yeah.
And then my sophomore year, we had another kid coming out that was a senior who was real good 800-meter runner too. He ran the 400 and the 800, and he could beat me. And I said, I'm not going to go through this again. So the first meet, I jumped into the mile too. The coach gave me a dirty look because we had a pretty good miler.
Yeah.
And I just sat on him, just ran with him until there was 200 yards left, and then I just out-sprinted him. And he was a nice kid, a good kid. And he's short though, but he had a very long stride, so he didn't have really good speed. And but that was it for the rest of the year. I'd run the mile and the half mile, but the mile became my event after that. So then my sophomore year, I went to the state meet again as a sophomore, but I ran the mile, but I didn't place either. Then the interesting thing is now my junior year, I'm playing football now, and I'm playing the end. I'm playing end, and they wanted me to play defensive end. I got killed. That's when I broke my nose in a scrimmage with the kids. I got run over more times than I want to think about. But they kept playing me. The offensive end, I didn't mind. I got a few passes, and it was fun. But playing defense on the end, trying to stop that herd coming around the corner, was not my thing. So, but that was it. Then I played. Oh, that's my junior year, and then I got the job at Pumpkin Delight. Did I ever tell you the story?
Were you custodian there?
Yeah, I was a custodian, the night custodian. And they stop and think these things that you just couldn't see anymore. So I'd go in at 3:00 and work until 7 in the building by myself.
As a
Lock it up.
sophomore? So you were 15 or 16?
I was a junior in high school.
Okay,
I
so
turned
you're
16
16.
my sophomore year.
Yeah.
So, and actually what happened is there was one of my friends in school, one of the guys I knew, when football got over, he said, oh, I was working at Pumpkin Light, but I didn't get along with the janitor over there. Says, maybe you could get the job. So I went over to the administrative building, and they knew who I was. So I asked, and I started. And the guy was an old guy, and he was a little grumpy, but he wasn't bad, And
Kind of like Mr. D.
huh?
Kind of like Mr. D at K Avenue.
Yeah, Mr. D. I'll tell you about him sometimes. He was a good guy. We got along well, him and I. But anyway, so the good thing was that just after Christmas, we got a call for like, I don't know, 10 of us or 12, I don't know what it was. Anyway, we got on to the AD's office, and he says, the track coach comes in, Jim Wynn, and he says, okay, guys, what we're going to do. We're going to go to the indoor meet this year. Bob, you do the long jump. Schulte, you run the mile, blah, 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 so on and so forth. And he says, the meet is on March 6th. Meet me at the school at 8:00. We didn't have any practice, no, nothing. Everybody's on their own. So the good thing was, of course, after school, I'd go get home on Harkness Drive, and I'd run up to Pumpkin Delight, about a mile. And then I had 4 hours to do the work. Well, I could do it in 3.
Just like nothing ever changes.
No, that's right. So I had an hour. And so I'd run up and down the stairs, run over, run around the gym, but it was one of those little gyms you get
Right.
lopsided running around. But my favorite was what I would do. The hall was 60 yards long. And so what I do is I'd sprint the hallway. And when I get to the other end, I'd count to like 20 or 30 or something, and then sprint back. And I'd do the same thing up and down like that, like wind sprints, you
Yep.
know? And so I didn't, and so the day came and we went and there it was. I don't know how we all got to the meet because couldn't all fit in Jim's car, but we all went to the meet. And I remember
Where was it at? Was it at Yale?
It was at Yale at Cox Cage.
Inside. Okay. Yeah. That's what I figured.
Yeah. But what are you running on in 1955?
Concrete, probably. I don't know.
Running on dirt.
Dirt. Okay.
It was packed dirt
Packed dirt,
basically.
okay.
And but it was a pretty good track, and it wasn't, and that they used it for college, so it couldn't have been that bad. Anyway, we went, and all I remember is I hang around. I started talking to some. I saw this one kid from Westport, I think. Anyway, he had shoes that were maroon and white. I thought, boy, that'd be nice, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
And so and I don't remember if I got shoes before then or not. But that was a funny thing too, because I went into the sports shop, and there's only one sports shop in town. And I said, I wanted a new pair of running shoes. And remember, they didn't have replaceable spikes in those days. You bought a pair of shoes, the spikes were permanent.
Yeah.
And they were 1/2 inch. But I went down and I asked the guy, and he said, "Oh yeah, we get them for you." And I got white shoes with red stripes. Everybody else had black, but I had white with white stripes. It was fun, but I can't remember if I got them before or after that meet. A couple other things I remember after that, but anyway, it came to the mile, and they had to have 2 heats.
Right.
And now nobody knew how well I could run. So the coach put me in the slow heat, the first heat, which I won easy.
Yeah.
I don't remember how. But I ended up 4th in the meet. Was it 4th? Yeah, 4th in the meet. So I got a all-state indoor medal. I still have it.
Yeah. You still have it?
I still have it. Yeah.
Wow.
So then we went into the regular season, and I'd run the mile and the 1/2 mile every meet, and I remember I lost the 1/2 mile twice to guys that were 400-meter runners, because I thought I could do like I always did, just run with them and outsprint them. Well, I couldn't outsprint a 400-meter runner.
Yeah.
So, but I won every mile race I was in. And I remember the time I went, and a kid from Roger Ludlow, a nice black kid, was a really good kid. And I'll tell you about that later again too, another story. And they were putting him in the mile. This was a kid that ran under 50 in the 400. I was on like 47 or something. Got a scholarship to Colby, I think, up in Maine. But anyway, I thought, oh, gee, was I going to run against that guy? But he was no good after 400. he died. But the other kid, Billy Bansack, who I got to be friends with too, he outsprinted me at the end. But that's how it was. So I was good. So then we went to the state meet again, and now I'm a junior, and I got 3rd, which meant then I got to go to New England. New England was where? Stores.
Okay.
So it wasn't bad. But then Jim Wynn, the coach, comes to me and said, "Well, I'm the only guy going." He says, "And he can't make it." He said, "But I made arrangements for you to go up with the guys from Roger Ludlow." So okay. He said, go wait outside the school, and they'll pick you up in a coach bus, no less. And then you in 3rd class.
Yeah.
And this guy that I was telling you, the black kid, Rudy, what was his name? Rudolph was his last name or first name. Anyway, he was good. Him and Billy Bansack and a couple other guys I got to know from that team. In fact, that was one thing I probably, if I had thought at the time, they wanted me to come down and run with them during the summer at AAU.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, well, how am I going to get to Fairfield, Yeah, I probably could have done it because I probably could have gone to work right after work, gone to the train station, take a train over there. But you're not thinking, and nobody in my family was interested in it, so it wasn't like me pushing you guys.
Right.
It was I was all on my own. So anyway, I got third, so I went to New England, and I got to ride on the coach bus with these guys, and I don't know, so I didn't place in New England, but then you stop and think I was probably like 12th
Yeah.
in New England, that year, and but it was a fun day. It was good because I got these friends of mine from Roger Ludlow and them, and a couple of kids from Harding that I got to know that. Became, and I wouldn't say friends, but guys that I would know. And we had a good time when we were around each other.
Now, just as a point of reference, what was your time like for a mile? Do you remember?
I think my best was like 4:35 or something like that.
Pretty
It was a good time.
good
Yeah.
time on a bunch of
Yeah.
dirt and cinders.
Well, I can remember
Grass. Now,
myself.
did you watch? Did you get my memory since we correct? Did you run your meets at Washington?
Yeah, we ran at Washington Field.
Yeah.
So you were running on a square.
Yeah.
Did you ever run up there?
Nope, that was Pat. You were gone. I mean, I just remember seeing pictures and you tell. So you were running on grass then?
You're running on grass.
That's what I thought. Yeah.
And I had my white shoes with my red stripes because I remember we went up to Ansonia to run, and I won the mile easy, and then it rained, so there's these big puddles on the track. I wouldn't run in my new shoes. I ran in my sneakers. And I was telling the kids the other day, we ran in sneakers. You say, you ran in sneakers? Yeah, they didn't have running shoes in those days.
Right.
You just, our US kids or our Converse or whatever we had, that was what you ran in. I don't know. We didn't have any leg problems. I don't know. Yeah. but anyway, it was so then my junior year. Is that where I am?
Yeah, you finished up your junior year, so you finished.
Okay, now I'm going my senior year.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was kind of a fun.
So it kind of circles back. So your senior year, you played football, and then you married mom in December.
Yeah, well, I played football, but football was interesting because the first 3 years, Jim Wynn was the coach. He was still running single wing.
Right.
And so he retired. So our senior year, we got a new coach, Ray Stoviak, who was
your coach.
Yeah, he played at Villanova.
Right.
Well, here's the other interesting thing is that he came in. He was from Milford. He had coached at Milford Prep.
Okay.
He coached at what was that? What was that school? Where they taught Arnold College.
Oh.
Arnold College was down at Point Beach. They had a campus there, and there was actually had a gym and everything. And they had a football team. Andy Robustelli.
Huh.
You ever hear of Andy Robustelli?
That name, that Stobiak, I know, but that one, Andy, I don't know.
Andy Robustelli played for the Giants.
Oh, okay.
But he went to Arnold College. There was a little school, but they had great football. What happened is right after the war, guys getting out of the service, the GI Bill, they were going to Arnold College to get a degree to teach PE. And Ray Stoviak had gone to Villanova. He actually, if you go in, I asked Chris one day, he played, I think, one game with the Philadelphia Phillies.
Okay.
I don't think he even got in a bat, but anyway, he was a good ball player. But anyway, he became our coach, and now we went into we're going to run a single wing, and not a single. We're going to run a wing T.
Okay.
And everybody thought we were going to get killed because new coach, all the good players had graduated. Used to have guys that were like 200 pounds that played on the line. They called them the pony backfield we had. Our biggest guy weighed 150 pounds in the backfield. Richie Briggs was the quarterback.
Okay.
And then, anyway, that was the team. So, and he was a good coach though. I mean, he just knew what he was doing, and everybody thought we were going to get killed. We were going to get killed, but he was smart enough. But the thing that happened then was, well, two things happened. And here's what you think about it. We're scrimmaging Notre Dame. Could have been Notre Dame. It was the year before we scrimmaged Notre Dame that I hurt my knee. Must have been my junior year that I hurt my knee. We were scrimmaging Notre Dame my junior year, I guess. And that's right, because I was still playing defensive end. And they came turning around there. Did you ever hear of Nick Petrosani?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, well, he came coming around. They knocked me over and they fell on my knee. My knee blew up like a balloon. I couldn't believe it, and yet the next week I was playing again. And, but that was my junior year. And but what happened in my senior year, I was still playing all end. And then Emil Usinger was playing end too, and George Ward. So we were kind of, I go back to my junior year. I got to tell you, my junior year, Mom and I were dating, and I remember I'd walk Mom home after.
Now, tell me where Mom lived, because you mentioned the house, and I think I know, but.
It's out on New Haven Avenue.
Okay.
Out, you know where the Gromart was.
Yep.
You remember that?
Yep.
But you just went past that and up on the corner, just past there, they had a development of houses, and that's where she lived.
Okay.
Yeah, and I walked her home this Friday night.
That's not a short walk.
Yeah, no, it isn't. But I used to walk her all the time, but I was in shape, so it didn't matter. But anyway, I remember walking her home, and then I'm there, and I got the chills. Gee whiz, But then I had to walk home. And I walked home, and I just didn't feel good. I went to bed, and I got up in the morning. I still didn't feel good. I said, well, I'll get dressed, and I'll go to the ball game. I go to the ball game, and I play I'm playing a little bit, but not a lot. And the kid that plays ahead of me, Walt Rowland, who was a senior, I'm sitting on there, and I'm going to go up to the coach and tell him, I don't think I should be playing anymore. I'm not feeling well. And I look out on the field, and they're carrying Walt off on a stretcher. So I had to play. So I played the rest of the game, and I don't hardly remember anything. And Mom came over to the house that night, and I laid on the couch, and then I don't know, some friend of ours, I think Howie, gave her a ride over, because we were supposed to go to a dance somewhere, but I wasn't up to it. And then the next day, this is an interesting thing, and you have to wonder if God was watching out and saying, you shouldn't be doing this. Anyway, the next morning I had been going to the Congregational church, and went to church, and they were doing what they called, anyways, I was going to join the church. You had to go through a process, and then they called it something when you had to go up in front and you raise your hand and say yeah or something. I don't remember what it was now, but I had, I said, I'm still going to go to church and become a member of the church. So I went up, and Mom and I went up and I did the thing that they had, confirmation of faith. That's something they called it. Anyway, but I went through it. But I was still so sick. I went home, and my mother was dating George Bradley at the time, and he committed suicide or something. Anyway, eventually, a few months later. But anyway, he was there. He said, I'll fix you. Gave me a shot. I said, that is going to kill me. But the thing is, I went to bed and I don't remember anything for 3 days.
Wow.
It was Wednesday afternoon when I finally came through, kind of. I don't remember anything, no doctor, no nothing, just stayed in bed. I guess I must have been somewhat coherent because nobody, got to rush me to the hospital or anything. And the sad thing, the bad thing for me anyway, because I was playing in, and the next game we played Wilby and Waterbury, and we won 34-0. I said, then we're throwing the ball. I could have caught passes and everything. But anyway, so now back to my senior year. The good thing that happened here. So I'm going to play offensive end again, but defensive end, they had better kids for defensive end than me. Then the first game, though, he looks at me and says, oh, you're going to play D-back. Are they going to be a D-back? Yep. The kid that they wanted, who was bigger than me, he wasn't as fast, but he was also very timid. So they decided at the last minute he wasn't going to work out, and they threw me in there. And it was okay. I liked it. I liked it better than defensive end, I'll tell you that. And I remember I screwed up in the first game, though, not defensively. I actually did offensively, because it was all new stuff to us.
Right.
And so they sent in a play. We were like on the 6 or 7 yard line. I can't remember. And I thought the play was a pass to me. All I was supposed to do was, you know, make believe I was going to run and then stay there and throw the pass. But actually, it was supposed to go to Billy Morris, who was our wingback. And I caught the ball and then Graham didn't make the touchdown. It was just at the end of the half, you know. The coach said, no, the play was supposed to go. Well, you know, they were all new plays to us, so we weren't through it. The thing is, if Billy had gotten the ball, he would have made a touchdown. That's a shame. We lost the game 13-7.
Oh,
You know, then the next game we're playing Norwalk, and they were good. Noel Wilkins. Do you remember Mr. Wilkins at all? He was over at Forum when you were in school, I think.
who's that? What was the name again?
Noel Wilkins.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, he was. So Stoviak becomes a coach. So he did an assistant. He got Jack Taylor. You know, Jack.
Yep.
Anyway, but then he had Noel Wilkins, who was a science teacher, a history teacher at the school. He was an interesting guy because he had been in the service, and he got out and he got his certificate in Notre Dame, and he came back to teach. I don't know why he taught Milford. I don't know if he was from Milford or what, but anyway, but he was in the service. He was a demolition expert.
Oh wow.
And one time they found some kind of a bomb out in Long Island, in the Long Island Sound. And they called him to go dismantle it. Wow. So I remember that. Yeah, he was a good guy too. He was good. Then one of our other assistants was Vito DeVito.
Vito DeVito. I tell people that name all the time and they don't believe me. And then, you know, because he just passed away not too long ago.
Yeah.
I was telling someone at work that name, and I said, no, and he was every bit as colorful as his name. And I pulled it up. I said, this is the guy. I said, you could make a TV series about that guy. I said,
Vito, right?
He's a legend.
Yeah. Well, you know what I remember about him, of course, he comes over and he's working with the ends, you know. And he said, oh, here, go out for a pass. You know, he had hands that were twice as big as mine. He had meat hooks, you know. And hey, I could catch a pass too if I had hands like that. But anyway, he was an assistant. So we had good assistants.
Good staff.
And they went good and scouted good. I'm going on and on, but these are things that I have in my memory. So the second game was against Norwalk, and they had coached and they had gone down and scouted Norwalk. And what they said is they had a guy that was like 200 pounds, 210, who was their fullback, and he was their big man. And he was scoring their touchdown. And all I remember is that in my mind is don't let him get past the line of scrimmage because you don't want to tackle him out in the open field. Yep. So I would play it very close and I just fill up that hole if he was coming in, you know, and so we won that game. I think we won 14-7, something like that. But we won the game and everybody was amazed we could win a game even.
Yeah.
And I can't remember, it was the third game. I think we went to Hamden. That was a good game for me too. We lost, I think, the 6-0. But I remember the one play that it was just before the half ended, and I, you know, kind of got the feeling this kid that was running, they were gonna give him the ball, and I knocked him out of bounds on like the 3-yard line or something. So I got my name in the paper again, you know. And then the next game we were supposed to play Roger Ludlow, and I think it was supposed to be a Friday night game, and it rained. And then Saturday we couldn't play either. So I think we had to play the game Monday afternoon. And so we went down there and they had a good team. These guys I was telling you about, Billy Bansack and these guys I knew from Roger Ludlow, they were all on the team. And they had this guy, he went and played at West Virginia. I can't remember his name off the top of my head, but he was an end. And I'd have to cover him when he went out for a pass. And I remember this as he was ahead of me and I was running after him. And I was stepping on his legs, you know, and he looked at the referee and said, he didn't do anything. He just trying to keep up with you. So, but it was an interesting game because they were very good. And we had scouted them very interesting because they ran from a different kind of a formation. They ran like a box formation. Mm-hmm. And I remember Mr. Wilkins saying this. He said, well, if they line up in this box, says what we want you to do is line up head on, the linemen. And if they're lined up to the left or to the right, I think it was Ronnie Knowlton said, he was a defensive corps captain. He said, if they line up to the right, say Roger, and everybody shifts to the right, instead of going head on, take a step to the right before you go in.
Yeah.
Okay. And if they line up to the left, say something and say, what are we going to say? Oh, we're going to say Ludlow.
Yeah.
They probably wonder what was going on. Roger, Ludlow, depending on. But anyway, we were losing the game 19-6. 4 minutes to go. And I remember we were Billy Morris was a little guy, and he wasn't really particularly fast, but he was good, and he was elusive. And I remember we scored. So all of a sudden it's 19-13, I think it was. So we kick off to them, and we get a safety.
Huh.
And they seem to think, well, that's okay. We'll just kick from our end zone.
Yeah.
So it was 19-15. Well, okay. So we scored another touchdown. So it was 21-19, and they lost. They couldn't believe it. People couldn't believe it because it was such a good team. Then we played. We lost a game. No, we lost. West Haven. Yeah, West Haven was too much for us. We lost like 19-6 or 18-6, something like that. Then we went and we played Central. I think it was a Central. Played Bullet Havens and Central. But I remember the Central game. I had 2 interceptions.
Oh, wow.
So it was my highlight.
Yeah.
And then Thanksgiving game, we go to the thing and play it again, and we're losing 19-6 again, I think. Anyway, and come out for the second half. We won that game 32-20.
Wow.
I guess they were beating us 20-6 or something like that. But we won. And I remember something. I don't know if there was a fellow in school. I went with his sister. It was in our class, and he was, I think, coaching at special ed school. I think you call it Connecticut Republic up in upstate somewhere. But anyway, he was at the game, and he noticed something. I don't know what it was, but the next thing I know, Dick Downey's up for a touchdown. I think they were keying on Billy Morse, and so there was a play where Billy would go out and follow him, and then Dick would run up the middle, and so we won the game 32. And everybody couldn't believe it. It was a great thing, And then my year track again, and I was married though. It was and working at the same time. So I got, I still placed. I was 5th. So I got a medal for 3rd, a medal for 4th, and a medal for 5th. I could have gone to New England, but by that time I was out of high school. I didn't go. But that's kind of my high school athletic career.
Cool.
It was fun.
So then your mom would get married in December. We'll kind of finish up here next minute. And so when we come back, you talk a little bit more about, being married in high school, and then you have Leanne the next year.
Yeah, the next February, Leanne was born. But the thing too is that, of course, now going to college, I'm planning on going to college. Where am I going to go?
Right.
On Harkness Drive, one of the men down there was last name was Wolf, and he was at UB. And so I went and we talked in a little bit. So I got a half tuition scholarship to UB. But still, it was like tuition was like $300 a semester in those days. So got $150, but it meant a lot, it was a lot of money. And so then I enrolled, and but now I still had to have a job. So I actually went over. Max Simpson's husband again was at AFCO, Wyoming, and he went over and said I could have got a job there, but I would have had to work 12 hours. So I can't do that and go to school too.
Right.
So then I went up to Sikorsky's and got a regular job working. We worked 4 to 12:30, so 4 in the afternoon to 12:30 at night. So then they went from 4:30 to 1 in the morning. So I didn't get out of school. I arranged all my classes. The interesting thing is when you go in I remember we had a psychology class, and he was okay, but he said this, and it was the one thing that stuck with me. He said, if you guys arrange your schedule right, and use all the time in between classes to study, you can put 3 hours of study in for every hours of classwork. That was kind of the thing at that time. You can have everything done so you don't have to do anything after 4 o'clock.
Yeah.
I said, okay, let me try that out. So on Monday, I went into school. I don't know if it was 8 o'clock, I think, on Mondays. I went to class 8 to 9, 9 to 10. Then I had a break. So I'd always go to the library and study.
Yeah.
And I had one more class. And then I would get done at like 1 or 2 in the afternoon, go home, have a meal with mom, and then turn around and drive up to Sikorsky's. On Tuesdays and Thursdays, I had accounting. So it was a 2-hour class. And I didn't have to be in until 9, I think, or something. So a little bit easier. But I found out that I could pretty much get all my studying done without having to worry about studying at night. Although the people I worked with at Sikorsky were good. I'd say, oh, you got an exam tomorrow. I'll go on upstairs in the bin upstairs and study if you want. And they'd cover for me. And it was nice, except sometimes I'd fall asleep.
I
remember.
Where were you and mom living?
I say we had first in the summer, we had a little apartment in Stratford. Then, but it was only 2 rooms, and you had to share a bathroom with another couple, an older couple, So we found another apartment in Milford, out on West Avenue. Okay. It was a 3-room, first floor. It was kind of a, what they call a railroad. You went in a living room, another room, bathroom off that, and then a kitchen. The kitchen was small, but for us it was fine. Anyway, and then so we stayed there. Then after the first of the year, we went and stayed with mom's mother because she didn't want to be alone every night, expecting the baby. And I remember at that time, my insurance at Sikorsky kicked in on February 1st.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, and so Leanne was born on February 5th.
Right.
So we had the insurance, but we had a policy that we were supposed to pay, but we had a grace period, and the grace period went to February. So we didn't pay on that insurance policy until we got to the 1st of February. And I said, well, we don't need it anymore. So it worked out in any case. But then we stayed in that apartment all that year. So it was a nice little apartment. And the thing is that, of course, I'm working at Sikorsky. Everybody's working overtime. They're working 2 hours overtime every night, and then on Saturday. And I'm thinking, well, I can't do that. So but then on the then it comes May, and I was getting out of school, and I said, oh, good, I'll get over it. And they cut out all the overtime then. I didn't get the big bucks, but it was interesting.
Cool. We'll cut it there, and then next week you can get into having the kids and
get into the real wild stuff.
Yeah, I mean, one of these times we got to go back and redo the first one that we lost, which you just talked.
Oh, okay,
about. Yeah. First being born and the end of the war and all that kind. I mean, you kind of alluded to, because you kind of touched bases there. We've talked a little bit about in the past, but we'll just keep going forward now. You can talk about you had Leanne and stuff. So you graduated. You went, and then maybe talk about what happened with school and stuff. Because I remember going to your graduation. Was it in '75 that you finally?
72, I think it was when I graduated.
Like that, because I remember being there. We all went.
Yeah, we got a picture of everybody. We got a picture of Mr. Fugel, Dr. Fugel, was at my graduation because he was on the board of trustees at UB.
Okay.
So he knew about it. We didn't tell anybody, but he found out about it, and so he showed up. Then, of course, at church, he had to announce it too.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Okay, well, that was really good.
Okay, we'll talk to you later.
We'll do it in 2 weeks.
2 weeks, yep.
Okay.
2 weeks, 2 weeks will be Easter,
Well, maybe we won't. We'll talk. We'll talk during the week. Maybe we'll do it next week.
general conference.
Right. Okay.
Okay, okay, bye-bye.
Thanks, Dad. Bye.
That was perfect timing.